Three, two, one. Hello, everybody. Love and light. This is Cameron Weir, founder, CEO, CHO for Brown Hope. And here we are live for our April Soul Food Sessions. As always, we are so excited for everyone who's here in our Brown Hope family and community. We are here to talk, to laugh, to learn, and to heal together. And so every month, on the first Friday, we do our soul food sessions, and this is a space and time for us to talk about the tea, what is going on in the world, in the realm of racial justice that we have to talk about. We have the plate, which is we talk about major updates about Brown Hope from the last month, things that you should know, things that you should care about, things that you should be engaged in. And then finally, we have the cake, which is a time for us to talk about a healing strategy that we recommend you incorporating into your own personal life. And so we do have time after our plate for Q&A. If you have any questions of me or for Brown Hope, put those in the chat and we'll do Q&A after the plate. So let's get started. So first and foremost, let's talk about the tea. And this month it is tasty. And the tea that we are going to be sipping this month is none other than the National Audubon Society. I bet half y'all listening are like, what is that? Well, the National Audubon Society is a very big deal. And it is, in my opinion, the premier conservation organization for the United States. So look, we live in a big country, and there's been manifest destiny. There's been all types of urbanization across this country, which originally was natural land that contained millions of species of all different genuses and whatnot. And with human growth and occupation of land, we've seen a lot of danger and threats to the environment. And the National Audubon organization, along with its affiliate chapters that are in major cities across the country, has been very dedicated to conservation, especially with a huge focus on the conservation of bird species. And so the National Audubon Society has gone through a really huge racial reckoning over the last year. And in the past month, it has gone through even more controversy. And that actually has been a controversy related to the idea of legacy and history, and really acknowledging that the history that is commonly celebrated in the United States, in America, tends to be very washed over and tends to highlight the positives of people who actually did very problematic things that we don't talk about. And at the same time, how are we going to honor the history of people who did not represent the best of society? And how do we name buildings and organizations and holidays after people who we know did things that were very counter the values that we hold today? And so Portland Audubon and National Audubon have both really had a grapple in the past year around the name of the organization itself. And so the National Audubon Society was founded in 1901, which is actually 50 years after the death of the man the Audubon Society is named after, which is John James Audubon, or JJ for short, as I like to say. So JJ was a really well-known and influential person of his time. He was a painter, he was a writer, but most importantly, really well-known for his love of birds, known ornithologist. And he did a lot of paintings of the birds that he was watching. And his passion for birds is what inspired the creation of the National Audubon Society. But of course, also being a man of that era, John James Audubon was a slave owner. And he had some very bigoted views when it came to Black people and indigenous people of North America. And in addition to that, he even lied about his race. He lied about his mother's racial background for him to appear whiter than he was. He came from a Creole heritage, and yet he would claim to other people that his mom was a wealthy Spanish woman, because he wanted to seem a little bit more closer to a Eurocentric appearance and racial background, and yet still having to explain that he did even have a little bit of color to his skin. And so that's what we call internalized racism, for to a degree. And so a very complex human being who did make positive contributions to this country, and yet at the same time carried that privilege to create all that success because he owned slaves. He bought them and he sold them and he owned them. He did that. And we have this national organization that was created 50 years after he died, and now grappling with this question on, should the name change? And so last year, they actually had a very intensive process. They brought in board members and staff and donors and volunteers. They surveyed over 2,300 people. And ultimately, last month on March 16th, announced that they made a decision to keep the name Audubon Society. And they made that decision while owning and saying, well, keeping this name also means owning a very problematic legacy that we have to deal with, which is honest, but from my perspective is a little questionable. We're talking about people having real concerns around us being in an era where we can finally challenge the types of people that we name our organizations and we name buildings after, and say, is it enough that you get the credit of being the founder, despite there are plenty of other people who've contributed to these things, whether these are conservation, whether this is education, whether it's the arts. There are plenty of people who contributed greatly, and maybe they weren't the ones who put down the most money. Maybe they weren't the people who owned the most people. And yet their contributions, they don't get names. They don't get, buildings and holidays named after them, but they didn't own anybody. And so again, this idea that, well, it is bad that this person was powerful and carried all this supremacy and literally thought it was okay to own people, but other people were doing it too. So I guess it's okay that we can still recognize the good stuff and kind of put away the bad stuff. And we just see that kind of dialogue happening again and again in this country. And at what point are we allowed to ask for something better? The question is Audubon Society ready to move past the heritage of its founder and to look at conservation, not just within the name and the legacy of one human being, but the fact that now there is a whole world of people who could be reflected in a more inclusive name? Well, the board voted, and they decided that they actually like the name that they have, and it's definitely come with controversy. They had 3 of their board members leave, and then they've actually had a number of chapters that decided to change their name anyways. We have chapters like Seattle and Portland even that have already said, we are changing our name and we will no longer be in an Audubon Society. So it's pretty clear that this situation is not done yet. And then, doing liberation work, it can sometimes be shocking to see how people, react to accountability. And the other interesting thing that the National Audubon Society did was, well, we can kind of see that there is a huge, race issue, discrimination issue that, our organization still has to deal with. So we're going to keep this name, but we're going to be donating $25 million to DEI initiatives. We don't know what that means yet. Audubon has made a commitment to $25 million to support DEI, which is a big deal. And yet it still feels, in my opinion, like this is a payout. And this is we understand that this is really hurtful and painful, that you feel like our organization is giving a platform to someone with a very clear track record of owning slaves and defending it. And since we're still going to maintain that legacy and that affiliation in this way, and really defend it, we're going to give $25 million to DEI. And it's hard because anybody can say that they support DEI, but if your vision of diversity means keeping the name of an organization after someone who owned slaves, what's your definition of DEI? What are you actually going to fund? There are some serious questions here. And so I think this is some very interesting tea. And I think that this conversation is something that happens, across the country. We're talking about street names. We're talking about parks. We're talking about buildings. There's so many things that are named after, people of history. And the question is, who are we naming these things after and why? The names matter because it is the community and place that we're building. And what we know is there's not enough energy and naming that is uplifting true heroes for justice and liberation. The folks who are out there every day saying, yes, we can have conservation, but that means that all of us have to be free in order to enjoy a conserved natural environment. We can have history makers who actually advance important issues of society without compromising the freedom of other people. Those are the folks that we want to see more things named after, and we aren't having that happen right now in this country. And so I do hope that this is an ongoing conversation for Audubon Society, but I hope that we look in our own neighborhood about things that are named after and what we should do. I'll do a shout out. One of the pet peeves that I have in Portland is we have a lot of parks and streets and things named after Ben Holiday. And you should Google that person's name. He was a very eccentric railroad tycoon back in the day in Portland's founding days. And he did a lot of things that wasted money and was just benefiting the richest of the rich. And yet, despite the fact that he was really not successful and just wasted a bunch of time and money, because he was so influential, which really influential was he was loud and he tried really hard to influence and he failed. But because he was such a character that people could notice, he deserved all these things being named after him. So I think even Portland, we have a conversation about naming and what we should do about that. So that is the tea. I hope that y'all enjoyed that. And anything that happens in the next month, please reach out to us because we want to have continued conversations about racial justice and how do we heal together. And so next, let's talk about the plate. And so this is going to be a time to go over major updates that have happened in Brown Hope over the past month of March, which is always a lot. I love Brown Hope. We are an organization that has really been created to take initiative around racial healing in a way that we have not seen before. And, let's talk about all the things that have happened in the past month. And so last month, we celebrated Women's History Month, which is always a big deal. And I hope that you signed up for our newsletter. We got to honor a lot of great, amazing people like Justice Adrienne Nelson, the first Black person on the Supreme Court, the first Black woman on the Oregon Supreme Court. We did a shout out to Nadine Burke Harris, who is the author of a book called The Deepest Well and has been one of the premier advocates of adverse childhood experiences and talking about childhood trauma and talking about all of our trauma. So really great tributes that we had to Women's History Month. We also launched a new initiative that we're calling Spread the Fire. It's the Spread the Fire Challenge. And so please look that up on our Facebook, on our Instagram, on our Twitter. We have these special branded Brown Hope candles. It's got a quote from Frederick Douglass on it about what it's not light that we need, but fire. And the idea with the Spread the Fire Challenge is, again, to give us an outlet to ignite our passion for racial healing. And so this is an opportunity to go onto social media with your Brown Hope Spread the Fire candle, take a video, take a picture, tell a story about why racial healing is important to you. We are continuing to find new innovative ways to get this conversation going about racial healing. So go to our website, contact us, find out how to get your candle. We can deliver it to you. You can come to our office and get one. But please help other people spread the fire and stay focused on racial healing. We also have coming up, this is very special, but tomorrow, can't believe it's tomorrow is my 32nd birthday. Hashtag Aries season. And I'm turning 32. And it has been quite the 32 years on this planet. I will be super honest. And I'm grateful to be alive. And I'm grateful just to reflect on all that has happened in my 32 years. And, you know, we're now at 5 years of Brown Hope's existence. And a lot has happened just within this organization in 5 years. And so I'm just super grateful to have so many friends and coworkers and family and folks that I love who I get to celebrate this birthday with. And so per usual, you know, I love to celebrate publicly. And so I will be having my birthday party and fundraiser for Brown Hope on April 15th next week. Y'all are invited. It'll be at the Brown Hope HQ. We'll be there from 12 to 3 p.m. And the only thing I'm asking for, I don't need gifts. I'm just asking for folks to make a donation to Brown Hope, an organization that we know and love. And so we hope to see you there. And so other things going on, Black Resilience Fund is going great. We had our first in-person village building session for our 25 families who are part of our income guarantee and village building program. And so a beautiful space just to start seeing these friendships and relationships starting to plant seeds and flourish. And so it was amazing. Just, you know, I got to be there and lead a workshop on the abundance mindset, the abundance mentality, and to hear other people's own stories about, you know, going from a place of disempowerment and feeling like you're not enough to, oh, hold on a second, I'm enough. And I was enough this entire time? Really? And just to be there for each other and to share those stories and just to see what it looks like to be in a space of people, all the people in that room who literally listen to you and validate who you are and what you're going through and are truly invested in seeing you succeed. How many of us have that type of space in our lives? You know, I love Brown Hope because we are working our hardest to make that a daily experience where you just exist. And that is enough for the people who are around you. And so just shout out to our Black Resilience Fund cohort members. They're making it happen. And so with that being said, Black Resilience Fund, we are going through a very important time because in just 2 months, we're going to be having our most important fundraiser, and that's the Juneteenth campaign. We've been doing our annual Juneteenth campaign now for 4 years. This is year 4. And it is the weekend of Juneteenth, which is June 19th, and the weekend starts on the 17th. And what we have is businesses from across this region who pledge a percentage of their sales or profits to support Black Resilience Fund. And so every year since 2020, we've had over 100 businesses sign up every year to donate mostly 19% of their sales or profits to support Black Resilience Fund. And this is super important because this annual campaign is the large bulk of what we raise to fund Black Resilience Fund for an entire year. And so right now we are super grateful for the success of Juneteenth last year, and the success of this year is going to determine our sustainability going into year 2 for Black Resilience Fund. We have a 3-year income guarantee program, and it's going to be super critical for us to advance these hopes and dreams of our 25 Black families. These are folks who are trying to buy their first home. These are folks who are trying to start businesses. These are folks who have dreams of going to school and getting a bachelor's or master's degree. And they can achieve those dreams by being a part of this 3-year guaranteed income program. So we're super excited this year for Juneteenth, because this is really the chance for the community to come together and fulfill that promise of year 2 for our 25 Black families. And so please go to blackresilienceFund.com. You can sign up to volunteer. If you own a business, or if you know someone who owns a business, get them to sign out that pledge form. Juneteenth is 2 months away, but you can pledge right now to be a supporter. And we've always had such great volunteer and community support for Juneteenth every year. And also want to say we are sweetening up the deal with our first ever Juneteenth in-person event. And so I'm excited to share that we are having a virtual concert happening at the Brown Hope offices on June 10th. And we're calling it Tiny Hope. So we're taking inspiration from, Tiny Desk. And we're going to have an amazing artist that we'll announce next month. And they'll be doing a small virtual concert for us. And it'll be a fundraiser for Black Resilience Fund and our annual Juneteenth campaign. So make sure to RSVP for June 10th, and you'll be able to watch the virtual concert. And so that's everything going on with the Black Resilience Fund work. Other than that, I'd say healing work is happening everywhere. Power Hour has been going amazing with our weekly sessions. We've had so many different public speakers coming in, folks talking about healing. There are folks talking about food justice work and farming. The diversity topics have been truly incredible. And if you haven't been on our social media lately, in the past month, we started posting weekly call to actions, ideas on how you can incorporate healing into your life on a weekly basis. So please check us out on social media. Another example of how we are really helping to spread awareness and encourage folks to make space for their healing. So that's kind of the plate of everything that is happening with Brown Hope right now. And I'm going to do a quick shout out to my friend Ruben, who's our Director of Development Communications, see if we have any questions from the audience.
Yes. How can I be a part of Brown Hope's mission?
How can I be part of Brown Hope's mission? That is a great question. And you're doing it. By listening to this video, you're a part of the mission. But we definitely are going to need a lot of support over these next 2 months as we are going into the Juneteenth campaign. Again, Juneteenth is the most important fundraiser for Black Resilience Fund. And we are trying to fund year 2, which means that we need to raise about $500,000 this year to support year 2 for the Black Resilience Fund. And so sign up to volunteer. We do a lot of business outreach. There are hundreds of businesses in the Portland metro area. So as many volunteers that are willing to work with us to outreach and talk to businesses in their street and their community, really ensures that we are going to build the momentum that we need to fund year 2 of Black Resilience Fund. But other than that, follow us on social media. Follow us on our weekly email newsletter. Please find ways to get involved. Come to our office. We're open 5 days a week. And so there are so many great ways to get involved with Brown Hope's mission. We're even looking for board members. You want to join on the board? Be our guest. So if you're really interested in work with Brown Hope, please reach out to us. We'd love to have you.
Another question. What businesses can sign up for Juneteenth?
Any business. If you got a business, we want to partner with you. And so, a lot of, places that have like a retail presence in Portland, they will sign up for Juneteenth and they'll donate proceeds from their sales of that weekend. But maybe you're a business that doesn't have, customers that come off the street. You can still make a donation. You can, donate as much money that you feel that is right and good to celebrate Black people in your community and to honor the liberation that we are all working towards. And so whatever type of business you are, we partner with everyone, and we do make sure to recognize all of the businesses that support us, whether they have customers that come off the street or they, do their work in a different way. We celebrate all our business support. It's truly a team effort. And so please reach out to us, go to our website, email me or Ruben. Please find a way to come and join us for Juneteenth this year.
I have another question. This is for you personally. How do you practice healing from day to day?
Good question. How do I practice healing day to day? A lot of things. For me, health is so important because a healthy life is a happy life. And so eating well, sleeping well, I make sure to take my herbal tinctures. I take one for good mood and stress management. These have things in them like, lavender and St. John's wort. I also make sure to drink lots of water. I try to drink about my body weight in ounces, which is a lot of water. And then, of course, I meditate about 6 hours a day. And so healing work is work, but I do believe it's work that is extremely worth it.
Kind of on that same path, where does your personal drive come from?
Love. It's love. Yeah, my personal drive comes from love. So, thank you for all those questions, everybody. And now we're going to close it out with our final section, which is the cake. And the cake is the space where we share a recommended idea for healing. And this is one of our call to actions that we had this past month. And that was spring cleansing. That's right. The month of spring just started about 2 weeks ago. And we talk a lot about spring cleaning. But at Brown Hope, we're really suggesting for folks to think about spring cleansing, because cleaning doesn't always look one way. When we talk about spring cleansing, it really means this looking inwards. And what is it in your life that feels messy? It can be a physical mess, it can be emotional mess, it can be mental, it can be spiritual mess. What in your life feels messy? And how can you bring cleansing? How can you let go of some of that mess? How can you leave that behind? How can you release? Spend this time as you start to see a newness and a freshness of life. How are you spending time looking inwards and allowing this new energy of spring to also inspire you to have cleansing in your life? That's our suggestion. Use this time with spring starting to think about spring cleansing for yourself and see what benefits might come from that. So that is our tea. That is our plate. That is our cake. We just did another soul food session, y'all. I had a lot of fun. I'm thankful for everyone who watched. Thank you all for your questions. And I look forward to seeing y'all at the next soul food sessions in May. With that, have a wonderful day, great weekend, and love and light, y'all. Bye.